सबको म्यूट कर दो। हाँ सबको कर दो। नहीं सबको म्यूट नहीं, कॉमन भी हो जाते हैं।
So we are live now.
Right. So I think we can start. Nidhi, can we start?
Good morning, one and all. I'm feeling honored amongst the august gathering and the stalwarts working in the field of tobacco control. For ages, tobacco has been popular and its use is significantly increasing in spite of alarming health hazards, as many communities use traditional tobacco products for the religious or sacred purposes. India is the second largest producer and exporter of tobacco products after China. About 15 states in the country grow tobacco, significantly influencing the economy and prosperity of the farming community. In the era of migration of communities, tobacco use gradually gained access and subsequently migrated along with the migrants, establishing in different locations. Due to this, tobacco products have ingrained in the markets, and thus it has become difficult to end its sales and purchases. But the tragic irony is that a tobacco product, even in its raw and unorganized form, such as areca nut, gudaku, etc., is equally harmful as are the commercial tobacco products such as cigarettes, chewing tobacco, etc. With this background, the Resource Center for Tobacco Control under the Department of Community Medicine and School of Public Health, PGI Chandigarh, has organized a national webinar on regulating indigenous tobacco products with an aim to abolish the use of indigenous tobacco products by eliminating the myth that these products are less harmful than commercial tobacco. Also, we would be deliberating upon the strategic actions for regulating these indigenous tobacco products. Now, without much delay, I would like to invite Dr. Sonu Goel to bestow the welcome address.
So thank you, Nidhi. So basically, at the outset, I want to thank all our speakers from different organizations. They are scattered from government, non-government sector, program implementers, and a few are policymakers who are actually involved in tobacco control, making of tobacco control policies. And also, I want to thank all eminent people who have been working, very senior people who have been working in tobacco control, who have come here as a participant as well, and will share their rich experience on the topic. And I also want to thank all the participants. I was not expecting that huge participant rush in this webinar. And I was told in the morning 6 o'clock that around 170 participants have actually enrolled for this. And after that, also many participants would have been enrolled. So in this forum, we will be taking 100 participants, but many participants are there live on YouTube. Well, listening to this webinar. So I just want to focus everyone's attention on the Resource Center for Tobacco Control, which has been established way back 3.5 years ago, as a small initiative, very small initiative. And we were thinking at that point of time that we will just collect the material and put the resource material on that particular forum. But since then, it has evolved a lot. Not only we have collated the resource material from across globe on various policies, but across all acts which are related to tobacco control, all circulars state-wise which are related to tobacco control. So everything has been put on this resource center for tobacco control now. Besides it, resource center also hosts few courses, basic course on tobacco control, which is for 3 months, and the advanced course on tobacco control, which is for 6 months. So these courses are running with full capacity. So in basic course, we had 50 participants from 25 states. And in this advanced course also, we had 45 participants from almost similar number of states. So that shows that people are showing interest, and these participants are across, I think, settings. I told there are many people from academy are also taking part in this initiative now in tobacco control. And almost now, I think many AIMS have been a part of tobacco control initiative, and many medical colleges as well, including, yeah. So the topic for this particular webinar, which is being hosted as a part of Endgame series, because this time I am pleased to inform you that this resource center, we will be introducing an Endgame hub on this resource center. And for next 1 year, we will be continuing all the activities which will be leading towards the tobacco endgame. And we'll be holding many activities and webinar series, and the tobacco free times, which is a quarterly issue, which is being published by Resource Center for Tobacco Control, will focus on the end game related topics. And the first topic which we have selected intentionally is a very neglected topic in not only across, but also in the tobacco control fraternity. That is how to regulate the locally produced indigenous tobacco product. Like every state has that those products which are deep rooted in the society, deep rooted in the customs and traditions. So how to put a ban, how to put an end on them, and what can be done? What are the challenges which are there to regulate those products? Yesterday, we had a discussion among the facilitators, and Dr. Rana also told many things on many products which has been deep rooted from 300, 400 years back. It is very difficult to take care of those. So today we will be listening on what are those products, some of those products, what are the challenges which the government is facing, which our NGO partners are facing in different states, regulating those tobacco products. And we will be listening from you towards the end of this webinar that what can be done. We invite your suggestion, and please keep on pouring your suggestion on the chat box, because we have a very focused interaction. So maybe everybody may not get time to speak on that, but please put your suggestion, and we'll value each and every suggestion which you will put on the chat section, and we will place that as a part of recommendations which we normally do to send to our governments and our NGO partners, what they can do at the state level and what can be done at the national level. So I would like to invite you all again for this wonderful webinar, which is I say that which is not very traditional, although we are talking about traditional products, but this type of webinar talking on indigenous tobacco products is not very traditional, and we would like to learn more on various aspects of indigenous tobacco products. So thank you very much, and we look forward to a wider interaction during this webinar. So over to Nidhi.
Thank you so much, sir, for welcoming the dignitaries and the delegates present in the webinar and briefing about the rationale of today's webinar. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to invite our guest of honor of the day, Dr. Rana J. Singh, Deputy Regional Director, the Union Southeast Asia, to address the audience. Dr. Rana is a medical doctor with MD in pulmonary medicine. He has a 25+ years of experience in public health, focusing of management and tobacco control. He's a master trainer of courses for mid and senior level managers, and currently supporting tobacco and NCT control programs in Southeast Asia region. We welcome you, sir, and I request you to kindly address the audience.
Thank you, Dr. Nidhi. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. First of all, respected Dr. Meeranji, our mentor and guide, Dr. Swasti Charan, Professor Goel, Doctors Gupta and Dr. Gupta, eminent speakers of this webinar, Dr. Pate, Dr. Gopal, Dr. Ravi Kaushik, all the participants. I see that we have participants in today's webinar, which are again, I think, in tobacco control for many, many years. So once again, on behalf of ERCTC and Union, welcome to this important webinar. Thanks to Professor Goel for thinking about this webinar on control and regulation of indigenous tobacco products. We had a small discussion also. In fact, what is the exact term which needs to be used? Is it they are indigenous, or often we call them as locally produced tobacco products? So why this webinar? You see, now I am in tobacco control for 1.5 decades, directly involved in tobacco control, although we used to talk about awareness generation related to tobacco since long. So actually, when we had policies, so first talk I always make, what are the challenges to tobacco control in our country? You see how we are different. In foreign countries, in European countries, in developed countries, we have mainly only one form of tobacco use, that is cigarette. But in our country, we have variety of tobacco products, both in smoking form as well as smokeless tobacco. So this is a major challenge. This is one of the challenges of tobacco control in our country. In smoking, we have cigarette, bidi, hookah, chillum, charut. We have pipe. So many kinds of tobacco, smoking forms of tobacco products are available, and each of these required a specific strategy. Similarly, for smokeless tobacco, many varieties are there. So this is a major challenge. So that is why this webinar, and we have a very limited understanding. So that is very important, that the people who are representing certain states, and there are specific products, so they must understand what are those locally produced tobacco in their states and what they need to know. We are also aware that we have a national tobacco control program and we have a legislation, COTPA. And if you see the preamble of COTPA, it covers almost every product which is a tobacco or which has tobacco in it. So it means, although all those products which we will be talking, they are already covered under COTPA. Legislation, COTPA, and its various provisions, they are applicable to all those products, in whichever state they are produced. If they are tobacco, COTPA is applicable. If it is a tobacco, National Tobacco Control Program and its activities and its strategies, they are applicable to all those products. But still, they are still challenges. So now we have already have an established in last about 10, 12 years. Now we already have an established system of tobacco control. We have NTCP, which has already expanded to 690 districts, which are already covered under PIP, and they are getting some kind of support for that. We also have a legislation which is being enforced throughout the country. But now you see, now we go to different states. So we cannot imagine tobacco control in state of Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh until unless we focus on Gadakhu. We cannot imagine tobacco control in state of Maharashtra until unless Mawa and Mishri, which is there everywhere in rural areas. We cannot imagine that. Similarly, we cannot imagine tobacco control in state of Mizoram until unless locally produced cigarette, which is called Zozial, or locally produced tobacco water, which is called Tabooth. Until unless we focus on that, we cannot imagine tobacco control in those states. Although a lot of progress has happened in all those states. But actually, as the Dr. Goel mentioned, to achieve tobacco-free generation or tobacco end game, no, it is we cannot leave any stone unturned or any product which has not been taken care of. Similarly, in Bihar and UP, we cannot imagine tobacco control unless locally produced canny. Canny is available, just like when we have a vegetable market every Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. There are people who come there and sit with the tobacco leaves, and people ask for half kg, 1 kg tobacco leaves, cut leaves. So that is how it is consumed, and it is very sensitive issue in the state of UP and Bihar, as well as the most common form of tobacco use used in those states. There are no pack warnings right now, and despite that we have COTPA, but all those products mostly they do not contain pack warnings. There are no taxes, no tobacco taxes are paid on all those products. So these are various challenges that despite we have regulations, perhaps they are not effectively implemented for them. So, so we need specific strategies, state level strategies, some regional level strategies which are required, and that is the responsibility of the state governments also. So they should monitor, they should see what is the magnitude. We have a GATS Global Tobacco Survey that also provides a lot of information about some of, not all, some of the locally produced tobacco. But I think states should develop their state-specific strategies for their control. So today we have eminent speakers. They will be talking about each aspect: what kind of products are available, what are their harmful effects, what about the regulating them. So once again, welcome to all of you, and we hope we will have a excellent discussion. Followed by, I would request Professor Goel that thereafter let's have, even if there are some speakers from those states, there are some participants, what kind of intervention they feel will be crucial for control and regulation of those products. So thank you very much. Over to Dr. Nidhi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your motivating words. Now I would like to invite Dr. L. Swasti Charan, our next guest of honor. He is currently leading, he is additional DDG, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, and currently leading 3 national NCD programs. And he's a well-known figure for tobacco control. We welcome you, sir, and I request you to kindly briefly address the audience.
Thank you, Nidhi, and thank you, RCTC, for inviting me for this important workshop. We are going to have a national webinar on regulating indigenous tobacco products. But to start with, it is always better to, say tobacco products as a whole. Don't distinguish between indigenous or non-indigenous, because tobacco is going to harm us. Tobacco is going to cause death. So that's tobacco is also going to cause us many diseases, and tobacco is also going to affect us in economic terms, and also is going to derail the SDGs that the country has been hoping for. Nevertheless, it is always it is always good to strategize ourselves. Strategizing ourselves, we have got what is known as the Empower strategy of the WHO, trying to tell us where are those areas where we need to focus and step-by-step approach to tobacco control. We also have the FCTC guidelines, concentrating on the supply as well as the demand side, and there are some activities which are beyond Empower as well as WFCTC. When we are trying to discuss indigenous tobacco products, we should also remind ourselves that we are not targeting only the indigenous tobacco product. It is just a seminar trying to concentrate our focus on the indigenous tobacco products because of the various challenges that these products are posing. The Cigarette and Other Tobacco Products Act is for all the tobacco products. The Empower strategy that we have is for all the products, and the efforts being made for National Tobacco Control Program is also for all the tobacco products. And for example, if we are trying to do the illicit trade, illicit trade, or trying to take care of what is known as the smuggled tobacco products, this for all tobacco products, as well as the illicit trade protocol has laid down certain procedures, but it doesn't mean that our COTPA or our National Tobacco Products, National Tobacco Control Program activities were not enough for taking care of the illicit trade. Similarly, for the indigenous products, we may have some challenges here and there, but the existing, not just in COTPA, but the JJ Act or the other acts with which we have been trying to use tobacco control should all be deployed in the right manner. And how to do it, I think, during the day, for many of us who are here in tobacco control have some ideas, but we also have many people who are here for the first time or the initial few webinars. We will be sharing with them the best practices that we have in India, and we hope to gain some ground here, and we will be learning from each other once again. Thank you for inviting me for this.
Thank you so much, sir, for your continuous and timeless support. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Meera Agi, our communication expert and behavioral scientist, to kindly address the audience briefly. Ma'am.
I think, Nidhi, we can continue in between because it's 11 o'clock in California in night. So maybe she will be listening. She might not be speaking.
Okay, sir. So before we proceed for technical session, can I request everyone to kindly switch on their camera so that we may have a group photograph? Thank you all. Now I would like to invite our first speaker of the day, Dr. Nirmalya Mukherjee. He is the Director and Head Tobacco Control, MAND, Kolkata. And he has demonstrated history of working in the non-profit organization management industry and skilled in tobacco control, program evaluation, reproductive health, behavior change, and health promotion. Sir, I welcome you and request you to kindly speak on your topic, Introduction to Indigenous Tobacco Products and its Distribution in India.
So Nirmaleji, you can start the presentation.
Yes, I think there was a problem. I think Miraji also faced the same problem because, from the administrator, it was not allowed to be unmuted. So that's the problem. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Sonu, Dr. Rana, Meera ma'am, Dr. Rakesh Gupta sir, and all the delegates, and Rajiv also for inviting me to speak on this issue. It's a new thing. It's a new subject area, I must say. I never ever talked about this in the past. So it's a new thing, and I'm going to tell about the introduction, introducing, I would focusing on introducing the indigenous tobacco products and its distribution in India. So for what is indigenous? The problem is when we are talking about indigenous tobacco products, we need to know what is indigenous. So indigenous means not moved from outside or not foreign. The product should be originating or occurring naturally in a particular in a place, or it should be a native one of that area or region. And to me, tobacco in India is not indigenous. So indigeneity of tobacco should be questioned. Yeah, it is true that in Charaka Samhita, it is clearly mentioned that Dhumpana should be there, and Dhumpana basically used as a therapeutic method. And here Dhum means smoke and Pana means intake, but it's a medicated smoke through mouth or nose. And it's in Ayurveda, smoke should never be exhaled by nostril. So that's another important thing. Here it's a completely different thing what we have been saying, and the tobacco was not used. Many people, especially I think tobacco industry funded people, so they have been trying hard to say that Dhumpana is basically socially acceptable, religiously acceptable, even acceptable by the Ayurvedas. But there was no proof that tobacco was used in Dhumpana. So basically, in Dhumpana, basically articles, sorry, mainly from the fragrant group was used for the purpose of treating many diseases like migraine problem. Then what Rana has already told that it's a huge complex one. Tobacco use is a hydra-headed problem in our country. Variety of smoking forms, variety of smokeless tobacco products are there, and these products are basically manufactured in a cottage and small scale industries. So there is almost no or limited regulations, and they have been using various mixtures, widening differing process of manufacturing. So manufacturing process is also different. Even I have seen that the bidi production in Bengal is totally different from that of Maharashtra or in Tamil Nadu. So they have a different types of processes of manufacturing, and that should be clearly understood, because that process is also basically settled that whether this very product is from Bengal or rather I can say identity mark, whether this product is from the Bengal or any other places. So bidi, it's the most famous indigenous product, smoked tobacco product, and it's largely unorganized, and many people have been involved. It's unregulated in most of the cases, with multiple farms and production centers, especially in this very part of India, that is Bengal. Almost 18 lakhs of bidi rollers are there, and there might be some other people like the taster and others. So these very people are not basically counted by the LWO of Kolkata. So only the bidi roller. So huge number of people have been involved in bidi rolling, and millions of retailers are there, millions of I think production centers are there. Even I have seen that in tea packs there are only 152 cigarette bidi packets are there listed over there. But in West Bengal, what we have seen, even in 7 districts, what we have been doing a small research, from that very research, we found that almost 300, more than 300 bidi brands are there. So it's a huge unregulated area, and we have very minimal kind of information in this very regarding the bidi industry. Then chutta smoke is revealed as a high content of nicotine and total particulate matter as compared to the cigarette and bidi. Chutta tobacco is rich in alkaloid content, including the nitrogen, and the total carbohydrate content is very low. And it's a very famous for reverse smoking. That means burning it kept inside the mouth. So that is another one important thing to know. And it's very popular in the eastern part of India. That means Odisha, Bengal, and then Assam, and even in Bangladesh also, it's very popular. And this popularity belongs to the tribal people also. They have been using this one. Then hookah, I think I have read this from a paper written by Miraji, I think in the year 1989. She wrote that the hookli is a clay pipe smoked by men in Gujarat. I don't know about this. So I just didn't know about this, and I just know this in this morning only. Then Chilam, basically what Dr. Rana has already stated, which is concept used mostly by the men, and it's very popular, having the marijuana and used in various occasions, including the religious ones. So when we have seen the Ganga Sagars or the Kumbh Mela, so it's a very popular, I think, popular subject for the photographers, and they have been coming up with regular features on this. The hookah smoke is filtered through the water kept in a bottle connected to the special receptacle containing a small amount of tobacco. But it's, the problem is, this hookah is basically not from our country. Basically, it's come from the Middle East, but it has become popular afterwards. And we have been using it in a different form, different ways. Shisha and hookah is almost same, but we have been using it in a different form in various parts of the country. Then the pan. So pan is basically, pan chewing is basically, socially acceptable, as well as it's a 200 years old history. It's a legacy is there. So even the ancient Indian scriptures are having pan chewing I think a part of the religious festivals. So pan is a combination of bitter leaf and slacked limes and piece of areca nuts with sweeteners added, and they sometimes added flavoring agents such as menthols, and chewers of pan chew it along with tobacco. In most of the cases in India, chewers chew it with tobacco. We are calling it jorda or dokta. In this very part of the India, we are calling it dokta, and more common in the rural areas and women in the older age. And it is used in various religious festivals, including the marriage ceremonies. So after having the dinner or lunch, so we have been providing pan, but almost obviously not with the tobacco. So people were asked whether they used to have tobacco or not. Like dokta, if you want to have dokta with that pan, so they just add that one when they have been giving this in various festivals also. Then khaini is the most popular chewing tobacco in India. As per GATS, the most popular as well as mostly used by the men. But in northeastern parts, Mizoram, like in Mizoram, khaini is higher among the women. So that is another one important, I think, characteristics to keep in mind. Secondly, chewing tobacco leaf. What Dr. Rana has already told, that it's finely or coarsely shredded tobacco leaves used all over India. So it has been used in many forms. Even the tribal people were using the sal leaves and then the chewing tobacco leaf inside that and just smoke. So it is basically, in every state we have a different types of use of tobacco leaf in a different way. So that is, we need to understand. And then the gutka. The gutka is totally banned, but gutka is available. So in many places, even in West Bengal also, we have seen it. And in Mizoram or Arunachal Pradesh, it is more common. It was more common among the women than men, as per the GATS report. And I think though it is a ban, but it is still available. So with the pan masala, they have been using this tobacco sachet and make it a gutka. Then jorda, vijapata, dokta. So that is being used with the pan, what I have already told you. And it is also chewed alone also. It is not that only pan was used to have jorda or dokta. So even with the areca nut, they have been using, people have been using this dokta or jorda. So sometimes it is being flavored also, like zafrani jorda, that means saffron, with the saffron only. Then lime is provided separately by the manufacturers to have jorda, and mostly used by the men and women of middle and upper socioeconomic groups. especially the middle class, they have been using it, Jorda and Dokta, and it's a flavored one. It's a good smell is coming from the mouth. Then tobacco leaf or shada pata or tamak pata. So air cured loose tobacco leaf used for chewing as well as smoking. It could be chewed with the lime. And I think even with the catechu also, we have been using it in many parts of India. It's a important ingredient in betel quid, and used in basically used by the low socioeconomic status people who have been living in rural and urban areas. Then gul, it is basically tobacco product, a powdered tobacco product with the ash of tendu leaves, and marketed in a small tins, and it is available in mostly in Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Bihar, Odisha, and northeastern states of India, and more common in women. So women are mostly using this, and in most of the cases we haven't seen, or rather I can say the visibility of this gul use is not there, and people are using it to just identifies as a part of the as a addictive product. Then khara, so it's a combination of product tobacco, areca nut, lime, catechu, and with additional some ingredients, held in mouth, sucked and chewed. Mostly used by the adolescent males in Wardha district and Mumbai in Maharashtra, as per the literature that is available with us. Then QAM, basically thick paste prepared from the tobacco leaf extract, spices like added with spices like saffron and cardamom and anise, and additives such as mask. It is placed in the mouth and chewed or used as an optional ingredient in betel quid. So QAM is also used as a part of the chewing pan, and more common among the upper socioeconomic groups. Then misri, I think Dr. Rana has been mentioning this misri and mawa things for last almost 10 years or so. So it is roasted and powdered tobacco applied to the gums using a finger, used as a dentifrice. And most common among the women and low socioeconomic group residing at Gujarat and Maharashtra, but mostly Maharashtra, what Dr. Rana has already mentioned. And the same way, the mawa, it's different from the misri. So it's a mixture of thin shavings, areca nut with some tobacco flakes and slacked limes, and placed in the mouth, chew for 10 to 20 minutes, and common among young men of Gujarat and Maharashtra. Then dhora is basically used in Jaunpur and Allahabad and Pratapgarh district of Uttar Pradesh. It's a wet mixture of tobacco, slacked limes, areca nut, and other ingredients like catechu, then khatta, or we are calling it khoer, and peppermint and cardamom, and it is chewed and sucked by the users. And then gudaku. So gudaku is basically a paste like tobacco preparation made using fine tobacco leaf dust, shera, that means molasses, and lime and garumati, red soil. And this is being predominantly used by the people, rural women of Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Bihar, West Bengal, and Uttarakhand, UP also. And it is being rubbed over the teeth and gums with fingertips for 10 to 15 minutes. Some swallow and extract, will others spit out. So it is basically, they have been using it as a toothpaste. Even in the morning, women have been using this one. So in those very areas where gudaku is very popular among the women, so we need to have a different strategy to deal with. Then tapkir or dry snuff. So dry powdered tobacco available as unscented or sometimes mentholized or scented varieties. So it is being used oral or nasal use, and it is these are available in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, and eastern part of India, even in West Bengal also. Then krivi snuff, basically commercially manufactured tobacco paste consisting of finely grounded tobacco mixed with clove oil, glycerins, spearmint, menthol, camphor, salt, water, and other hydrating agent. It is also being used in the same way what I have told you as a toothpaste, and more commonly used by the children of 13 to 15 years of age group in India, all over India. And Taibur, Dr. Rana has already told you that it's a tobacco smoked infused water, stored and sold in bottles, even in plastic bottles also. So people were using it or gargle it or keep it in mouth for 5 to 10 minutes and spit out. More commonly used by the women, it is integrated with the social and cultural rituals in Mizoram and Manipur, the northeastern states, and very popular among there. Lastly, the Lal Dantamanjan, a fine grade tobacco powder herbs with flavorings. And additionally, the manufacturers also added ginger and pepper and camphor to popularize it. I used to clean the teeth. Basically, what I have told you that it's it is used as a kind of a toothpaste kind of a thing. And most of the women and men used living in Bihar, UP, Uttarakhand, Odisha, Mizoram, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Goa, Maharashtra, and Manipur and Sikkim. So they have been using it, and it's very popular among them. So, and even the big companies also produced this Lal Dantamanjan. Dabur was also producing this one. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very comprehensive and informative presentation. Now our next speaker is Dr. Ravi Kaushik. Dr. Ravi Kaushik will be speaking on the pattern of usage of indigenous tobacco products. He's currently working as Associate Professor of Medical Physiology in MAMC, New Delhi. His areas of interest are oncology, tobacco control, and epidemiology, and has handled numerous clinical trials in India, Africa, and USA. We welcome you, sir, and request you to kindly speak on the topic.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot, ma'am, for introduction. And thank you, Dr. Sonu, and thank you, Dr. Nirmal, for setting the pace. It made my presentation both difficult and easy. Easy because most of the things are already covered by you, and definitely difficult because all the number of the indigenous products which you have talked about, the only data which is available on the Google, on the internet, is basically what you have covered. So as far as the patterns of usage is concerned, there is extremely less data which is available for these indigenous products. And since last few days, since Dr. Sonu Goyal gave me this task of finding out the patterns of usage, I must commit to this, that I'm really tensed and in a big soup, because there is rarity of data which is available. However, what I have done is I have tried to focus upon the major smokeless tobacco products as well as the tobacco products, which the data of which is available. And this data primarily comes from the big studies primarily, and few small publications and reports which have come. So herein, I'll be sharing my screen now. So when we talk of the patterns of usage of the tobacco products, we must also take into consideration, just a second. Yeah, we must also take into consideration the tobacco cultivation, because it has been found that the areas of cultivation are also the areas wherein the problem of tobacco consumption is prevalent. So this small diagram here, it shows that Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, these are few states wherein the large number of tobacco products are there. They are
Dr. Ravi, sorry to interrupt, but could you please turn it to full screen? Your present is
sure. Just a second. Just a second. Actually, this Zoom window which is coming is not letting me do it. Anyways, now it's, yeah. I hope it's there now.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So from the Directorate of Economics and Statistics, this diagram is taken, and this shows the largest producing states, the tobacco producing states in India. This clearly shows that Andhra Pradesh, followed by Gujarat, are the two, like Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh, they are two big states wherein the tobacco production is very high, followed by Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, West Bengal, Bihar, and to a lesser extent, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra. So what we found is that there are a number of varieties of this tobacco plants which are being produced in these states. So primarily, if we talk of then the Virginia kind of tobacco, flue cured Virginia tobacco, that is being produced primarily in Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka across few belts, across few districts. This Virginia tobacco is primarily used for production of cigarettes, and this is one of the major export items as far as the tobacco industry is concerned. The indigenous BD tobacco, which is a different variety of tobacco, that is primarily produced in Gujarat and followed by few districts of Karnataka. This cheroot is a type of indigenous cigar, and which is very common across few states of South India and Odisha and West Bengal. So this special variety of tobacco is cultivated primarily in Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. The tobacco which is specifically consumed in hookah, that primarily comes from the northeast states, few of them, as well as Bihar, UP, and West Bengal. The normal chewing tobacco, which forms the basis of multiple varieties of tobacco, including kheni, including the kivam and all, that primarily comes from the West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Bihar, UP, and Assam. So until unless we are not aware of what type of tobaccos are there, it will be difficult to understand the distribution of tobacco per se. So likewise, there are few special types of tobacco which include Natu, Burley, the Lanka tobacco, which is primarily focused in Andhra Pradesh and parts of Karnataka. So all in all, if we see, maximum number of the maximum cultivable area under tobacco is in Gujarat, followed by Andhra Pradesh. However, the maximum production is in Andhra Pradesh. This Burley tobacco needs a mention here. It is also one of the export item tobacco, and this is primarily involved in production of cigarettes again. Rest all, Natu, Lanka tobacco, Pika tobacco, they are all used for the indigenous production. Then if we talk of the total world tobacco production, that is approximately 7 billion kgs. China is number 1 in production, followed by Brazil and India, approximately producing the same amount. So then approximately 93 different varieties of the tobacco is produced. Most of those varieties include the Virginia tobacco and followed by chewing and BD tobacco types. So this map, this primarily shows that the areas of the states wherein there are producing sites, there are BD workers, there is tobacco agriculture, and there are the cigarette factories which are there and smokeless tobacco factories which are there. As we can see, Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, they lead in having all these things. They have quite a lot of BD workers, which is again indigenous product of tobacco. They are they have a lot of cigarette factories as well as smokeless tobacco factories. Also, Andhra Pradesh does have, as you can see here, Andhra Pradesh and Maharashtra, they also have a lot of BD workers, BD production, tobacco agriculture as well, and the smokeless tobacco factories. So what take-home message we can take from this particular slide is that there are few states wherein we need some more activity as far as tobacco control is concerned, simply because many indigenous products, including all the smokeless tobacco factories and products, all the BD factories, or the in fact BD usually is not produced in a factory. They are the household small scale factories or small scale ventures which are producing the BDs. So we need to focus more upon these states. This is the tobacco map taken from one of the publications again. This basically shows how the smokeless and smoked tobacco usage has changed over a period of 20 years nearly. So what we can see is that there are few states in which the smokeless tobacco usage is more prevalent, although we can see that both smoked and smokeless tobacco prevalence that is decreasing over a period of nearly 15-20 years now. So the actions being done at government level and NGOs across India, they are definitely giving fruits, and the consumptions are decreasing. This is the prevalence of tobacco usage in adults more than 15 years of age across the states of India. And the data is taken from NFHS, the National Family Health Survey 5, and the GATS data. We can see that they are similar. However, in some of these, there are some differences. Like, for example, the Andaman Nicobar NFHS 5, the study was done in Andaman Nicobar Islands, and it was found to have kind of maximum usage of tobacco. Followed by, the consumption is followed by in Assam and northeastern states, it is pretty high. In Bihar, it's approximately, in men especially, it's approximately 50% people do use, according to NFHS. Then we can see that Mizoram especially, the indigenous products which are used in Mizoram especially have been already been discussed. So Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, they do have, Nagaland especially, and they do have quite a high prevalence of tobacco use in adults. It has also been reported in multiple studies that tobacco usage is high, not just in adults, but also in school-going students or school-going children or of young age population in these states. So the few of the GATS findings, GATS2 findings, which are ubiquitously known by most of you, that approximately 267 million adults, they use tobacco in any of the forms, whether that is smokeless or smoking forms. Nearly 200 million use smokeless tobacco, nearly 100 million smoke tobacco, and 32 million are the people who have this mixed pattern of usage. Most common tobacco product is Kenny, as we know, followed by BD. Both Kenny and BD are indigenous products. Okay. Nearly 200 million users, they are rural population, and nearly 68 million users are urban population. Although we see that there is 17% decrease in the tobacco prevalence, there is definitely in the young age population also we see that there is a reduction of 33%, 15 to 24 years. Right? The age of initiation also that has thankfully has increased from nearly 17.9 to 18.9 years from GATS1 to GATS2 data. What we can see is there is a decrease in the secondhand smoking. However, still there are few areas of concern, which include that there are a lot of loose tobacco purchase, which is there. So packaged tobacco is, so packaged tobacco consumption is less. So loose tobacco is one important aspect where all of us need to focus upon. We also see that 30% of the people who work indoors, they are exposed to secondhand smoke. At public places also, nearly 1/4 of adults, they are still exposed to the secondhand smoke. Right? Although this GATS2 data says that 10% of people notice some form of tobacco advertisement. However, indirect or surrogate advertising of tobacco is so rampant, all of us know this. We also know from this GATS2 data that although gutka is banned, however, quite a lot of people, more than 50 million people, they still are able to buy gutka. So this is the prevalence of tobacco users, as we see from the difference between GATS 1 and GATS 2. We know that there is a decrease both in tobacco users, smokers, as well as these SLT users. From GATS 2 again, we see that nearly 18% of the population in India that uses smokeless tobacco, 7% use smoking tobacco, nearly 4% include both, mixed pattern of this. Now coming over to especially the type of SLTs, almost all of them are indigenous products. Then it is known that Kheni is the most important. Kheni is the most commonly used smokeless tobacco product, which is being used by approximately 11.2%, followed by gutka still. So gutka is arecanut and tobacco lime mixture. So that is still being consumed by nearly little less than 7% of the population. Betel quid along with tobacco is still pretty rampant. Nearly 5.8% people use it. Oral tobacco usage in form of Godaku or Gul or Mishri, that is still used by 3.8% people. Tobacco along with pan masala is consumed by nearly 2.8%, and nasal snuff and all such stuff less than 1% of the people. There is one very good paper, and this shows BD smoking, and it shows that BD smokers, the number of BD smokers basically. So out of total number of BD smokers, nearly 57% of the BD smokers are only BD users. 25% are the people who consume smokeless tobacco products along with BD. So this is the point to note here, that BD smokers, a quarter of them, they also consume smokeless tobacco products. Both these varieties, BD as well as most of the SLTs, they're all indigenous products. Then BD and cigarette smokers, they are nearly 11% of the total BD smokers, and 7% are the people who consume all varieties of tobacco products. This gutka, which is still a problem, it needs a mention here. In a couple of studies, it has been shown that in few cities, these studies were conducted, and it shows that nearly 40% of the school students and nearly 3/4 of the college students, they report to consume gutka even after the ban. In Wardha, it was found that nearly 46.4% men and 20% women, they consumed gutka even after the ban. So these are definitely the figures wherein we should be focusing upon. So overall, what we saw was there are indigenous products, there are a lot of them, and each one of them require focused approach to mitigate the problem. Each of them require more data digging, and a lot of studies need to be conducted on these indigenous products to come up with the data which will show a better prevalence as well as the incidence of the problem. So again, the last slide, I just took it to show some positive aspect, the effect of COVID-19 on tobacco consumption, especially in India. This study shows that nearly 50% of the people, they have either cut down the frequency or the amount on the tobacco consumption. Okay. And there are few people, nearly 12-13% of the people who have increased the frequency after COVID-19. So COVID-19 thankfully has actually helped the tobacco control lobby, the people like us, into the tobacco control. However, we need to take this pattern forward to make sure that not only the smoking tobacco products, the cigarettes are into picture, but also these indigenous products are also taken well care of. And we focus on controlling the consumption of these indigenous tobacco products, which are part and parcel of the social and economic patterns within our society. Thank you so much. That was it from my side.
I think before Nidhi takes over, I could not resist appreciating both of the earlier presenters, Dr. Nirmalya and Dr. Ravi Kaushik, because I think there were very few studies and data was very less. And despite that, I think they could extract that relevant data, and both of them presented in a very succinct way. So I think congratulations to both of you. And just a slight corrections in Dr. Ravi's slide might be some error because of which. So it was 28.6% of people using tobacco in GATS. It's basically mistaken as 6%. So it is 28.6% of tobacco.
That's great typo. Sorry for that.
Yeah. So, and another thing which was very interesting, which I came to know only in this presentation, that Andaman and Nicobar Island, which was not surveyed by GATS, so it shows a very high prevalence of tobacco use. So that's very interesting. And I think what has been discussing, all of us are discussing, is we need profiling of these products because the data is very scarce. So we need profiling of these products state-wise, and we need only then we can have a focused strategy of it. And I think GATS has been expanding. This time they have taken the e-cigarettes. But I think that is another thing which I want to highlight here is that some of the key main tobacco products, as shown by Dr. Nirmalya also, can be taken as a part of GATS. So I think that will be really helpful. So I think over to Nidhi without wasting much time, and over to the next presenter. I think I will introduce the next presenter, Dr. Arpit Gupta, my colleague here in PGI, and he is in oral health sciences and has many affiliations to his honor. Very active young tobacco control activist in our discipline. So over to Dr.
Arpit. Thank you, sir. At the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Sonu, Dr. Rana, other organizers, and also the speakers who have spoken very well and set the tone straight for the next presentation. And I would just take a moment before I share my slide. Can anybody confirm if the slides are visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so through the next 15 to 20 minutes, I would be taking you through some health effects of these indigenous products. We will be talking about, we'll be digging deep into the evidence and looking at some case reports. And then the story is going to be quite clear. So as far as these indigenous tobacco products are concerned, we all know that they are a significant cause of death and disease in our country. And tobacco user, whatever form the tobacco is, whether it is like conventional products, indigenous products, the newer products, but they are said to cause 4 to 6 times more risk, higher risk of developing oral cancer than the non-users. And eventually it has been shown that these are also gateway, these indigenous products are also gateways to conventional cigarette smoking or tobacco smoking, and also other substance abuse like alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, inhalants, and etc. If you look at the short-term health effects, they are like generic health effects, which we can see with most of the products, which include bad breath, poor oral health, dental cavities, addiction, decreased athletic ability, stained teeth, gingivitis, loss of smell, taste, and other senses, and dizziness and nausea, ulcers, increased incidence of oral ulceration, altered blood pressure, and mouth sores. If you talk at the long-term health effects, they are again very generic. We all know about them, like some potentially malignant lesions of the oral cavity or the oral pharynx, including cancers, cancer of esophagus, pharynx, larynx, stomach, pancreas. And also they contribute a lot towards heart diseases and some oral and dental diseases, including tooth and bone loss. If you talk about the cardiac complaints, tobacco in any form, it supports atherosclerosis, it leads to cerebrovascular diseases, abdominal aortic aneurysm, peripheral vascular diseases, and impotence or erectile dysfunction as well. If we talk about cancers, we have already talked about there are some OPMDs or oral pre-malignant disorders, or what we call as precancerous lesions as well. So like leukoplakia, erythroplakia, the incidence of these precancerous lesions is higher among tobacco users. And also they are said to increase the risk of cancer of bladder, cancer of cervix, esophagus, kidney, larynx, lungs, oral cavity, pancreas, the pharynx, stomach, leukemia, and many more. If you talk about respiratory disorders, tobacco is said to be one of the main culprit causing COPD, the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and some other acute respiratory illnesses like pneumonia, bronchitis, and other respiratory infections. And if we talk about the respiratory effects which are mediated in utero, so there is a higher incidence or higher risk of developing reduced respiratory function in infants. And when we talk about respiratory effects in childhood and adolescent, there is a decreased physical fitness, potential retardation in the rate of lung growth and the level of maximum lung function among the children and adolescent. And also, it accelerates the age-related decline in lung function. And there are other respiratory effects like increased cough, wheezing, respiratory infection, dyspnea, and many more. There are also reproductive effects which most of these tobacco products leads to, including the well-feared about the sudden infant death syndrome, and also delayed conception. It affects the fertility of an individual, low birth weight, fetal growth retardation or restriction, and preterm delivery, and other pregnancy complications like premature rupture of membranes, abruption of placenta, and placenta previa, and many more. Other effects includes cataract, diminished health status, adverse surgical outcomes, low bone density amongst postmenopausal women, which leads to increased risk of hip fractures, peptic ulcers, and periodontitis as well. Talking about content specific, or let's say what we call as product specific outcome, we have already talked about, Dr. Kaushik has talked about individual products, and before that Dr. Nirmal has also talked about this culprit, this very beautifully looking nut which we call as erica nut. Now this erica nut is a known culprit as far as it affects the nervous system, the cardiovascular system, the GI system, and many more. So it is said to affect the salivation, it is said to cause palpitation, it is said to be neurotoxic, it increases the skin temperature, causes euphoria, it leads to tachycardia and increases the systolic blood pressure, increases the coronary artery spasm, the risk of coronary artery spasm, increases atherogenesis, increased risk of type 2 diabetes mellitus, hyperlipidemia, hepatotoxicity, and decreased growth in the weight and the BMI. Apart from that, it also affects the endocrinal system where the thyroid is being affected. It affects the prostate. It is said to increase the risk of infertility and vitamin D deficiency. It leads to various blood complications such as increased fibrogenesis, decreased production of interleukin-2 and interferon gamma, cytotoxic to the RBCs. It leads to analgesic, although it has an analgesic role at high doses, an anti-inflammatory role as well, but it is known to cause it is a known carcinogen and also known to cause mutagens as well. And as far as respiratory system is concerned, it aggravates asthma, decreases the PEV, and increases the risk of dyspnea, tachycardia, palpitation, vertigo, vomiting, and etc. So this beautiful looking nut, betel nut, which is being used in most of the tobacco products, leads to so many diseases or increases the risk of so many diseases. Now this erica nut, when it is mixed with slaked lime, catechu, and other flavoring agent, it gives birth to this product which we call as pan masala. And this pan masala is one of the leading cause of oral submucous fibrosis, as we all know. It is hepatotoxic. It increases the level of enzymes, deranged carbohydrates, and lipid metabolism. It is harmful to the kidneys, the testes, and also leads to increased creatinine and sperm deformities as well. In animals, it leads to neoplastic lesions in lungs, liver, and stomach. Talking about some evidence, which is available through the literature, we'll be talking about the products and the evidence available. So Kenny, very well described by Dr. Nirmalya in his talk. Now this Kenny has got short-term acute effect, when it is used in terms of gutka, it has effect on the heart rate variability amongst youth adults. And it also affects the pulmonary dysfunctioning and also the fibrosis in the lungs. It increases the incidence of micronuclei in the buccal epithelium cells and also leads to some cytokinesis defect and cell death. Therefore, it significantly leads to higher incidence of micronuclei, and where we have some studies talking about this. Another product we need to talk about is Mishri. Now, this Mishri, it increases the incidence of antepartum hemorrhage, the placental abruptions, the placenta previa, and the premature rupture of membranes has been reported during pregnancy. Now, this is one of the articles which is talking about various pregnancy-related complications of this product. Another product which Dr. Nirmalya has also talked about is GUL, and he has told us that it is quite prevalent amongst, and it is more prevalent among females. And this product is notorious of causing oral cancer, causing heart diseases, diabetes. Then it affects the blood pressure, the blood lipid profile is being affected. It is known to cause some genetic damages, and it is cytogenetic, it is carcinogenic, affects or increases the risk of asthma. Although it is used as a dental hygiene product in some parts of our country, but knowing its effects on DNA damage, it is very sure that it leads to adverse effects. It leads to adverse outcomes of pregnancy as well. So this is again one more article which talks about this GUL component. This article also highlights that the this GUL amongst females, it has a high adductive potential, and it has atherogenic potential as well. Therefore, it leads to thrombophilic state when taken during pregnancy. Another product we need to talk about is Kharra, and the habit of chewing this product is said to be associated with poor periodontal health or oral health, and also it leads to oral submucous fibrosis. We have this article which says that quam, which is again a very common indigenous product, and it is more common among males, and it is known to cause some potentially malignant disorders, oral cancer as well, and it decreases the sperm count. So this is very important. Again, this product, Gudaku, which is said to be genotoxic, and the incidence of micronuclei is found to be higher amongst those who are using this product as compared to the non-users. Again, this is about the same product, and it says that the localized elevation of frequency of micronuclei and cancer development is due to the synergistic effect of hyperthermia and tobacco-related carcinogens amongst reverse cigar smokers, and to the close prolonged contact between the mucosa and tobacco among Kenny tobacco and slaked lime dippers. Again, talking about this product, BD, which we know as, we all know that at some parts of the world, in our country, not just the world, people do consider BD as a safer alternative to cigarette smoking, but it is not actually like that. And BD smoking is associated with severe baseline respiratory impairments. It causes various kinds of mortality, and it affects the cardiorespiratory system in a great extent. A water pipe or the hookah, it is said to be a major risk factor as far as lung cancer is concerned, and there is an increasing risk, or the odds ratio of lung cancer among water pipe user is ranging from 2 to 4.5. Another product is Chillam. Chillam is very prevalent as far as some sadhus in our country are concerned, or let's say it has some deep-rooted cultural connections as well. So this Chillam is said to alter the differential cell count, and it has been observed that the cells like neutrophils, lymphocytes, and macrophages, these the count of these cells are altered in chillum users. So it also adversely affects the blood parameters. So just to conclude, although we have limited literature available, we have tried to get into the literature, but we could hardly find handful of articles, but almost all of them indicates towards increased health hazard of these indigenous tobacco products. And by no way or by no means they should be considered as safer. And various health agencies, the WHO, the government, and many more, they are trying their level best even to control these indigenous health tobacco products. But these products have some deep-rooted cultural connections, and that is why it is really difficult. And the market of these products and the manufacturing is largely unregulated. So this poses a bigger challenge towards the health regulating authority. So although there is a long way to go before tobacco control is done, but yes, it is earlier the better. And I really congratulate the union, the RCTC, Dr. Sonu, Dr. Rana, and everyone for taking this very important topic to discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the harmful consequences of indigenous tobacco products. Now let us hear about the challenges and recommendations to address indigenous tobacco products in India by Dr. Gopal Chauhan. Dr. Gopal Chauhan is the State Program Officer for National Tobacco Control Program, Government of Himachal Pradesh. He did his MPH for PGIMER Chandigarh and also served as State Nodal Officer for Tobacco Control School Health Programs and District Program Officer from 2013 to 14. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Nidhi. Can I share my slide?
Yes, sir. You can share. You're a co-host.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Full screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, organizers, for giving me the opportunity. While listening to the other presenters, I have customized my presentation, and my work is very, very easy now, in the sense that we are able to understand what the issue is, and what are the patterns of tobacco use, which we call the indigenous tobacco products. And I think this is more important in the sense that while we are working for tobacco control for last so many years, but the key focus always remains on the good practices from the Western world. We are having different problems. We are having different problems, different issues, and the issues varies from state to state. So our understanding, our practices and our interventions had to be in accordance with the problems, which may be country specific, state specific, or some area specific. I congratulate the organizers and thank them for taking this topic forward so that we can achieve the larger goal of tobacco end game with a certain period of time. Yes, to summarize the presentation, let us talk about the bigger picture. The biggest public health achievements of the 21st century. Tobacco figures in that recognition of the tobacco use as a health hazard is one of the biggest public health achievement of 21st century. This is for the new participants that, why we talk about tobacco. Second, if you talk of the mortality, as per as the WHO report and Lancet 2012, 8 million people are dying due to tobacco. This is the reason that we often talk about tobacco. It is one of the single largest, preventable cause of mortality, and especially the NCDs. Now, talking about the tobacco control policies, what do we have? We are having WHO FCTC at global level. Then we have the empower policies. We are having the National Tobacco Control Program, the specific act which we call COTPA 2003, Food Safety Standard Act, Drug and Cosmetic Act, many other acts and regulations. If we try to summarize what Dr. Nirmala has presented and endorsed by Dr. Ravi and Dr. Arpit, Are all our indigenous products being covered under these strategies or some regulations, or we need to do something else? I'm pretty sure that the tobacco control law, the policies does not cover each and every product. There are people, those who don't know that they are consuming tobacco products or not. Are, the product which they are consuming, is that having some tobacco or not? They are not clear about it. So our interventions has to be very much focused, as reiterated by Professor Sonu Gill in the chat box also. Then it is a summary of the tobacco burden. But in short, I would like to say that in India, the problem is this one, smokeless tobacco, which is around about 20 crore people are using smokeless tobacco. And if we talk of cigarette, I am not saying that cigarette is not our problem. But you see the load of BD smokers. They are 7.18 crore. It may be, as of now, because it's data of 2016-17, the figures might have changed up to some extent. But you can understand that what our problem is. And if you go down to the states, the pattern and the problems are different. Now coming to the topic specific slide, I have only very few slides, 2 or 3 slides, because I have customized. If you see the challenges, first of all, there is a tobacco industry interference. But I would like to say that for indigenous products, though there is not a lot of advocacy, but there is aggressive promotion of tobacco products by the celebrities, by some other companies, local producers, and in a bigger way they are coming through CSR. But as far as our problem is concerned about the indigenous product, it is the biggest challenge is the variety of tobacco products. We were struggling that while launching prosecution for smokeless tobacco, should we explore the sections of COTPA or Food Safety Standard Act or Poison Act or some other act? Why we were struggling? Because we have the variety of tobacco products in this country. Second one is the ignorance of smokeless tobacco control approach. I told you in my earlier slide that our focus has been on adopting best practices from the Western world. They talk of cigarettes mainly, but the country-specific approaches for smokeless tobacco products are not sufficient as of now. Though we have banned gutka, there are some good practices also, but we need to do more on this. Coming to the existing regulations for 100% smoke-free, we, as per COTPA, in public places, even public places are not smoke-free. Forget about homes. Even in our act, the public places, there are some permissions are being in few places smoking is allowed. Maybe the airport, maybe the hotel and restaurants having 30 plus rooms or capacity of more than 30 people. Then coming to the surrogate advertisement, time and again, you can see how aggressive the tobacco industry and the people are for promoting tobacco through celebrities, through other media, direct and indirect advertisement, all kind of things. Then the concern is the poor enforcement of the existing tobacco control policies, especially the COTPA and Food Safety Standard Act. But as an implementer, I would like to say that the process is complicated. If we want to launch a prosecution under Section 5 or Section 7 of COTPA, then we have to go to the court of law with lot of evidences. And at the end of the day, what will you get? If you launch prosecution, you fight the case for maybe 6 months or 1 year, then the fine and imprisonment, it's very, very minimum. There is nothing written in the law that what should be the minimum punishment. It may be 100 rupees even after so many attempts to the court and launching so many prosecutions. Then easy availability of the tobacco products to the youth, which is the biggest concern. Pack warning on local products. You cannot ensure the pack warning because Our act does not cover all these products which are being, bottled, as Dr. Rana said. The problem of, Chhattisgarh, the local products of West Bengal, it is different. But how to regulate them? How to ensure the pack warning? The size will be different. Somewhere it is liquid, where to put the warning, how to put the warning, it's not clear. Then the complicated tax structure. You say that still we are struggling between, VAT and GST, some syntax. But, it's quite complicated, because on BD, the tax is different and the cost is quite less. And in cigarette, the tax may be on higher side, but the cost is on higher side. It's a very complex kind of thing. Then lack of adequate cessation services. If we aware people, if we motivate them to quit, but we are having very less cessation services. Then one of the biggest challenges is the traditional and cultural acceptance. You see that in rural villages, rural areas, you will say when you welcome people, guests, you offer them cigarette, and even in many occasions, it is socially and culturally accepted. These are a few of the challenges. Then what are the key recommendations? Although every presenter, it is self-explanatory that Dr. Rana said that these are the challenges and what we need to do. But, I have summarized few of them. We need to do state-specific monitoring of the pattern and the type of tobacco use. And we need to correlate those patterns with the diseases. For example, in the state of Himachal Pradesh, if somebody asks me, how many tobacco users are there? I can tell from the GATS and FHS survey, though we have a electronic health card surveillance system in the state. But if somebody asks me how many cancers and how many cancer patients are there due to tobacco use, I'm not able to tell. Forget about all the indigenous tobacco products. For the common products, we are not having such kind of data. That how many are having oral cancer in the state, they are attributed to tobacco use. We need to create this database. Then enforce the existing policies as much as possible. Definitely, if you ban smoking in public places, definitely the impact is on homes. We have seen it in many studies. Evidence-based advocacy. Sometimes we talk of lot of things, but there is lack of evidence in that, because we know that how aggressive tobacco industry is. The people, the shopkeeper, where you want to stop, the users even, they fight with us. Then it's very difficult to prove in the court of law and to convince people at political level, at administrative level, without lack of evidence. Then evidence-based advocacy is very, very important. Then we have to be very, very vigilant. Why vigilant? Because new products are coming, new challenges are coming. You can understand how electronic cigarette came into existence. Then we need to build partnerships. Partnerships are very, very important, because you cannot do tobacco control in isolation. You need to involve people. You need to involve experts, academic institutes, NGOs, media. You need to have a very good partnership with all the key stakeholders, those who can contribute. You need to involve people, those who were earlier tobacco user and they have, quit tobacco. Building partnership is very, very important if we want to address tobacco control as whole. Then advocacy for code amendment. We are having some peculiar issues in few areas. We need to incorporate, we need to strengthen CODPA, we need to, enhance the punishment and fine. And then the consumer education campaign. I think we are doing under NTCP, but it's not enough. Because while we are doing survey, 99% people know that tobacco is harmful, but why they are not going for quitting tobacco? Students are understanding, it's written in the books, it is written in the literature. There are pack warning, but still, why people are, using tobacco? We need big campaigns for this. Strengthen tobacco cessation facilities. I would like to say that this is one of the biggest area. We are having 30-40 crore tobacco users, they want to quit tobacco, but we don't have facilities. We need to create facility, different models. It may be online, it may be physical, it may be group counseling, it may be anything, whichever is working, whichever is feasible. And then focus on youth to achieve the tobacco endgame. Is very, very important, because we talk of tobacco endgame. We are, agreeing upon that the prevalence has to be less than 5% by 2030 as per the SDG commitment. What is the roadmap for that? What different states think of that? What are the planning? This will happen only if we do the mapping of each and every type of tobacco products in being used at state level, its relation with the diseases, then we can decide the interventions. Thank you very much for your patient listening, and over to the organizers, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gopal. Now, please allow me to invite our next speaker, Dr. L. Swasti Charan. And he will be deliberating upon the various government initiatives for the regulation and elimination of indigenous tobacco products. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Nidhi. I think I have been listening to most of the presentation that we have had till now, and many of the areas which we need to discuss have already been discussed by many of the speakers. So let me once again reiterate what the speakers have already told before me, starting from the WHO Empower strategies that we have, and the WHO FCTC articles that we have, and also added with the illicit trade protocol, and various others relevant laws that we have in the country, like the JJ Act and the others, which we deploy during the Pandemics and Epidemics Act, etc. All will have to have a consolidated approach to while trying to regulate or control the indigenous tobacco products. That's the first thing which I wanted to say. The second thing is, when we are trying to do the regulations, we should be concentrating, as I said in the morning, both the supply as well as the demand side. So we act on those laid down principles, laid down steps that we do under the National Tobacco Control Program, augment each one of them, and try to customize it for the Indigenous Tobacco Products Act. To illustrate this example, let me give you an example of tobacco cessation. We already have a way how we are trying to wean away people from using tobacco, and if they use tobacco, we have a way of providing them the cessation services, which we are trying to do from the grassroots level. The ASHA or the health worker comes to the doorstep and then does a enumeration of that particular household. And those 30 years and above, we try to fill up what is known as community based assessment checklist, which has got some of the risk factors, including tobacco. And according to a scorecard, according to a score, that particular patient would be or that individual would be sent to the system of NCDs, the NCD clinics or the other health and wellness centers there. And this is where we are trying to link ourselves with the tobacco cessation services that we want to do. Now, if we bring them, these particular patients, to the NCD clinics or the tobacco cessation clinics or the dental colleges, the TCC established at the Tobacco Cessation Center, Dr. Rakesh Gupta, who is a cessation expert, is also here. The dose of NRT that we are using for the tobacco cessation is all based on smoking products. So that we have not customized it for the smokeless tobacco or the other indigenous forms of tobacco that we use. So whatever dose we are giving, we really do not know whether we are giving it at an underdose or we are giving it at a higher dose, and do we need to tweak this? So this is one area where we need to do. So like this in other areas of the supply side, when we are trying to regulate the tobacco products, we need to see whether the whole of the COTPA is applicable to these, whether we need to tweak it a little bit, not in the law, but in the way it is being administered. So these are some of the areas where we need to little tweak ourselves, identify ourselves. But as I said in the beginning, the whole purpose of this workshop is, I must emphasize again, is not to ostracize only one form of tobacco, thinking that that particular tobacco product is more harmful than the remaining products, for example, the smoking product. We are not saying that all tobacco products are harmful. All of them are going to cause premature mortality, and they are going to cause morbidities and other impact on the society, even to the extent of the Sustainable Development Goals. That particular is the reason why we are here. But we have special sessions on many aspects of tobacco control. Say, we conduct Empower strategies. That does not mean that Empower strategy is the only strategy available to us. Then we also conduct workshops on smokeless tobacco. It doesn't mean that smokeless tobacco is the only thing we need to do that. No, that kind of thing. Because when we are discussing all this throughout, you have this, tendency, or you have this false notion that the smoking form seems to be better off than the smokeless tobacco, and that's why we are concentrating on smokeless tobacco or the indigenous form of tobacco. It's not like that. It's a uniform emphasis that is being given by each one of us, and we are trying to discuss. We are trying to discuss threadbare the possible areas of accelerating tobacco control. So I think I would stop here, because many of the things which I had in my mind, it's all already been discussed by many stalwarts, like Dr. Gopal Chauhan has given it from the state perspective as well. So it is, if we have listened to till now, I think nothing more is left to be there, and I leave it to the RCTC to consolidate the ideas that have come up during this workshop till now and later on also, and then try to have another meeting in future where we, after this discussion, we said, okay, if you want to take care of this particular indigenous product, these are the areas where we need to do. These are the provisions of the available acts that we have. This is how we will do it, kind of thing. That's why the hands-on kind of thing. And today, we may be testing out the ideas, we may be testing out the available tools that we have. Then the actual implementation, I think Dr. Sonu's team can work on it, and then we will try to do practical steps. Thank you once again for inviting me.
Thank you so much, sir, for encouraging us to advance tobacco control initiatives in our country. Now, I would like to invite all the state representatives to have an open discussion regarding the challenges they face while controlling the indigenous tobacco products in their state. And I would like to request Dr. Sonu Goyal to kindly facilitate the session.
Yeah, thank you, Nidhi. And I think there are two good things about this session. First of all, I think all 100 participants almost glued throughout these 2 hours. So that shows the interest which has been shown by all of us. And I could see many new faces, even some of which I am not aware about despite being in tobacco. This is, and also, as I told earlier, that many of the tobacco product which has been told by the earlier speaker, Nirmalya ji and Dr. Kaushik and Dr. Gopal, even I was not aware about. So I increased my knowledge on this aspect. So I think many of the recommendations has already been shared by our experts, and rightly said by Dr. Swasti that all the tobacco products are harmful. The purpose of this particular webinar is not to say that this particular thing is more harmful as compared to our routine used tobacco product like cigarettes. But the idea behind is a special session focusing on this to highlight, to increase the focus that we need to work on this area as well, more focused approach on this area as well, besides working on the other areas, which we are already doing. So that was the important idea behind this webinar. So I think I invite, because we have almost like 15 to 20 minutes, 15 minutes to discuss what are the products and what are the challenges, specific challenges which state people are facing. So I could see that I was just scrolling the list. I may have missed few people, but I was seeing that a few state representatives are here. We have from Madhya Pradesh, Bakul is here. From Chhattisgarh, Diksha is here. Dr. Abhiram is here. Dr. Surya is here from Puducherry. Vivek Avasti is here. Jia Sheikh is here. And Dr. Salim Khan is here from Kashmir, my academic friend. So I think these are I could see, but there are many more who if willing, can raise hand to share. So let us start with the any specific challenges. I think the name which I have spoken, so they can come forward and tell about specific challenges which they are facing and what they are doing for mitigating those challenges. Yes, we can start with anyone. We can start with anyone. Yeah. Dr. Surya, do you want to start? Do you want to go ahead first? Any specific challenge in Puducherry? Or maybe anybody, it's an open session, so we want participants. So any participants can come over. Okay, I'm unable to mute. Yes, please give the rights to mute. Unmute themselves.
Yes, sir, given.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. We can hear. Yeah.
Very nice presentation, and particularly my special thanks to Dr. Nirmalia for introducing these new indigenous products. So, of course, I have not seen many of those in my life. It's a very, very good presentation by everyone. Even Dr. Gopal Chauhan on regarding the barriers and challenges, everything. So my experience in Puducherry would be like we come across one specific product called as School Lip, which has been very prominent among the school children in Pondicherry area. So this was very challenging right from 2017 to till now. Even during the COVID pandemic also, we found this product very lavishly available in many of the petty shops, and almost these we very concentrated in areas where the schools are available. For example, there is a CODPA regulation stating that we cannot sell any tobacco products within 100 yards of the school premises or any educational institution. But we could find these products very easily available within the premises or even near to the school premises of many schools in the rural as well as in urban areas. This was brought to our notice right from 2017, and recently what we have done is that there was an anti-narcotic squad which was being formed by the superintendent of police. With the help of them now, we are now able to counteract with these products. Like with the help of food safety department, we have come up with a helpline, and then we have distributed this helpline to all the schools and areas wherein the concerned person or a school teacher or a student can raise a complaint stating that we are facing so and so issues, like in terms of narcotics as well as or any kind of tobacco products that has been sold near the schools. So recently, in the past week also, we have got a complaint by a teacher stating that the school students are using this. The main thing I would like to explain regarding this product is that if the student consumes it, the Cool Lip is like pouches, like small pouches. You can just keep it under your tongue or in your buccal cavity, and if the student keeps it within 15 to 20 minutes, he will be in a state of high that he cannot even recognize even the school teacher or anyone. So this thing has been has an effect of over 2 hours or 3 hours. So most of the students are using only during the afternoon session. So what we did was that with the help of food safety department, even there is a ban order on sale of any gutta or pan masala. So we seized the products, and with the help of the police department, we have filed a case against them. And the one innovation what we have done was that the helpline, which is we have been distributed to all the schools as well as all educational institutions, to call us regarding a complaint or state anything like a complaint that has been raised. So this is one of the indigenous products we are basing in Pondicherry. Thank you.
Wonderful. I think, what is the name? I just missed the name of the product. What is the name of that product?
It's called a School Lip.
Cool
Lip. COOLLIP. Cool Lips.
Cool. Okay. Fine.
Lips. You can Google it. It's available in Google. You can see the images even in the Google also.
Right. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Surya, for highlighting this, and I think you have done a good job. I think in mitigating that particular challenge which was there. So now maybe Bakul, do you want to say something? Madhya Pradesh. Bakul?
Yes, in Madhya Pradesh also like basically lot many smokeless products are quite common, but I think that's a more specific policy level advocacy is required in most of the states, because still there is a like most of the policymakers and bureaucrats are not convinced regarding this. So we need a strong advocacy for that.
Right. Any specific product which you think is very particular there, although it has been there profiling? Any specific product which is there in Madhya Pradesh, which you are thinking of focusing?
No, basically like gutka and kheni, these are the main products smokeless which are more prevalent, mostly used, and the raw tobacco is quite common. Raw tobacco mixed with tuna and katha, these are the more prevalent.
Right. So thank you, Mr. Bakul. Now, Ms. Diksha. Yes, Ms. Diksha, are you with us? Okay. Then I think Vivek, Mr. Vivek Avasti.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes, Vivek.
Yes. I think most of the things has been shared, but in the context of Uttar Pradesh, I would like to just share that the big population is always the challenge in Uttar Pradesh. In rural area, there are people using different kind of products, and also local products. For example, in Manpuri and surrounding district, there is a Kapuri tobacco, which is manufactured at local level, and this is very much popular in a rural community surrounding the district, Kapuri tobacco. And there are many cases of oral cancer due to this Kapuri. And there is a challenge.
What does it contain? What does it contain? Kapuri tobacco?
Kapuri contains kapur and tobacco and areca nut, and this is a mixture, very thin mixture, well crushed. This is the product, and in Farrukhabad, Itawa, Eta, Manpuri region, in rural area, this is mostly very popular product. And apart from this, there is a sale of loose tobacco, because locally in many districts the tobacco is produced here. So many times we can see the loose tobacco products selling around the hard bazaars. So this is also the issue. And one, I would like to highlight the challenge that if we can see, this is very much scope to work in Gram Panchayat, but the bottleneck is that the most of the decision makers and action takers in Gram Panchayat, like Pradhan and Panchayat workers, are using tobacco. And if they are using tobacco products, this becomes always difficult to motivate them to take action against this tobacco. So this is the challenge. I think I feel this is the challenge. And there are too many other things, but I think this due to the time. Thank you.
I know, yeah. So I think excellent, Mr. Vivek. I think you have done. You have told about one product, but UP, I think many products are there, and has been. I think you have been doing a good job there. I think Aruna, quickly about. I think you have told about a product.
Yes, sir. Like Kaddipudi. It is usually it is a product, a very cheap tobacco product available in the 5 to 6 rupees pouches, and it is made up of the petioles, stalk, and the leaves. Actually, leaves is a premium product, so here they usually use the stalk and the petioles of the tobacco product, and they're either they're shredded or powdered. And these pouches, they usually over a period of time, people they consume it with betel leaves, betel nut, lime, and this Kaddipudi mixture. So like
right.
here, like many of the like lower socioeconomic status people, I came across many of these BBMP workers and cleaners and all. So early morning, like their day starts with this actually.
Okay. And you are talking for the benefit of participants. You are talking about which state?
Karnataka state, sir. It is
Karnataka.
available. Yeah, because like I worked in North India for nearly 10 years, but there I have not come across this particular product. So since I moved to Karnataka since 4 years, so I came across many of the clients who have been using the this kadipudi mixture.
Okay, wonderful. So great. So I think Zia, do you want to say something in Maharashtra?
Yes, sir. I would like to say that in Maharashtra, there are some metro cities like Pune, Mumbai, Nasik, Nagpur. Over there, we face different type of challenges, different type of tobacco product consumption. And when we talk about the other districts, over there, I can say there's lack of literacy, we can say.
There is an echo.
Yes.
There's a lot of echo. I think you need to speak. There are two phones which are there, or only one?
No, there's only one phone. Like I'm operating this from my laptop.
Okay. Right. Yes. So any specific product, I think you can highlight here. I know there might be many products which has been told in the presentations. Any specific product?
No, sir, there's no any specific, but like in cigarette, we can see mixed pod type of product came.
Okay.
Which if we ask them what is mixed pod, then they said it is type of cigarette. But when we see its content, then we find its end, sir. That is the issue I am facing in Maharashtra. Because when I went to look forward for that product, then they didn't show this to us. So how to examine what type of product it is? That is the main problem. Like I feel, which I faced, and different type of hookah bars over here. Many I cannot explain many things, sir.
Right.
Which I faced, which I practically faced in Maharashtra.
Right. So I think thank you, Zia. Right. So I think Dr. Rakesh Gupta, sir. I think in Jaipur, and then Dr. Rakesh is here with us.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sonu. I do not have much experience on managing the people with indigenous tobacco products. Although we do have the tobacco used as powder in the southeastern part of Rajasthan, but there are not many patients in my cohort. I think there were about 4 patients in a cohort of 1,000 patients. So that number is very small.
Right.
Maybe it has also missed because I was also not very aware about managing these patients specifically. So when I take the history for the tobacco use, I have not asked direct questions related to the use of indigenous products.
Right.
They may be using. That is one thing. And but as I have already stated in the chat that we should all speak about the indigenous tobacco products when we are doing the awareness talks, wherever we are doing for tobacco control and in tobacco cessation. That is one recommendation I can make.
Right.
Specific to tobacco cessation, I feel the management as per the pharmacotherapy may not be different, but I consider counseling will definitely require a variation in a view that the indigenous products are not used many times by the classical urban dwellers, but the semi-urban people or people living in slums or in rural areas where the vast variations occur socio-culturally, even in one state. So in the entire country, yes, the variations will be very wide. So I think we need to have some research studies as to how to manage or do the tobacco cessation delivery in the people who are using the indigenous products. And it can be a multi-center study in a way, because we may not get a large number of patients at one center. But I think such a study should be planned so that maybe in next 2 years, 3 years, we are able to get some data which we can say is the contribution from our country to the world as to how the indigenous tobacco products can be managed.
Right.
And maybe at individual product also. So these are 2 comments that I would like to make.
No, I think very well pertinent comments, and I think a few research studies, and as in total 2 hours, you can see, despite all the review, we could not find much studies on the prevalence, the pattern of the use. So not much data is there. So I think there is a need for the studies, and I think including in the routine system as well, routine HMIS system as well. And also, I think you talked about cessation. I think we need some we need studies whether it needs the same cessation approach or some different cessation approach. So I think very well taken. Dr. Salim Khan from Kashmir, I think it's a different type of product. Sir, are you aware about some sort of products in Kashmir? What are the things which are there? Okay, so I think there has been some issue. So maybe any participant at this last moment, we have a couple of minutes left, and you can all fill the feedback form which is being shared so that we can send the certificate to you as well. So anybody among the participants who want to speak something on any indigenous tobacco product which they found in their state.
Dr. Sonu, Salim here. Sorry,
yes.
There is power outage since morning, and it's every 5 minutes we are getting outage.
Okay, no issues.
One thing is that we have very high prevalence of smoking, especially among adolescents, but we don't have indigenous smoking. We hardly found indigenous smoking components here. So most of the time we see the cigarettes coming up, which are the filtered cigarettes, and nowadays we are having some unbranded cigarettes coming up, and they are unregulated in our part. So that needs to be looked into. But otherwise,
which product?
We have some imported cigarettes which are unbranded.
Imported. Okay.
Yeah. So there are no statutory warnings on them, and they are being sold in the open market. And that is something which is emerging over the last couple of years.
Right.
And that is something which is happening. Otherwise, we don't find any other tobacco products like which has been discussed over the last 2 hours. I found this program very useful for me to learn many things. I have been in this program for almost 2 hours continuously, except in between we have power outage. So I thank you for holding such workshops, and I think it should be extended to the medical colleges and other departments also, so that they have regular involvement in these programs. And as it was suggested that we should have some research on such products, maybe we may be having such indigenous products, but it may not be visible to us. So if we go into the communities, and especially in some tribal areas or some pockets which are not visible, so we can find some indigenous products also in our part. But per se, we haven't seen any such things happening in our part in Kashmir.
Right, sir. So I think very rightly pointed that we have tentacles across country, and I think many medical college and your medical college, I think, doing an excellent work, Government Medical College Kashmir. And we have other medical college partners, NGO partners who are actively doing work. So I think we should plan, and Dr. Rana is here, so we can plan some excellent research, which is cross-country, and think about some of the products which we can actually profile based upon that research. So thank you. So I think if there are any participant who want to speak, last minute.
Sir, actually, Dr. Aruna from Karnataka, sir.
Yes, Dr. Aruna.
Sir, in addition to Salim sir, what he said, like this particular product, the Kadipudi I had mentioned, so like it is a packed tobacco product, but does not follow any of the packaging and the labeling law.
Right.
And it levies. And even who produces that is also in a very faded format. It is there, the address and all, like the production form and all, like.
Right. No, I think many of such products. So that is the part of the research. Many of such products escape the regulations.
Yeah,
Of,
under COSMA, like they are like there are no pictorial warnings. Packaging and labeling laws is totally like devoid. It's like just
right,
products.
right. Thank you.
Thanks.
So. So now I think over to Dr. Rana. Do you want to speak last word before we end?
Thank you very much. You see now, I think a few products have been named by the participants. So you remember way back, I thought of having a tobacco product museum. That can we have such kind of things where all that information is available.
Yeah.
So Dr. Aruna again mentioned something in that regard. So now you as a resource center, so please, please think of having such kind of, you can say, resource where this information is available.
Right.
Then we will approach Dr. Swasti Charan that I think there needs to be more and more research on various aspects of locally produced tobacco. Although, as he mentioned, and in the beginning I also mentioned, all these products are already covered under our current legislations or under our NTCP. So thank you very much and excellent discussion.
So thank you, sir. Thank you for suggesting this very important, pertinent point, and we will see the feasibility of introducing this this type of museum in our resource center. So let us, I think we can think of it, and we will talk to you further on it, and Dr. Swasti, how we can do that. So thank you. Over to Rajiv for final comments. Yeah. So Rajiv or Nidhi, anybody?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So I'm going to propose vote of thanks. We express our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Rana J. Singh, Deputy Regional Director, the Union, Southeast Asia, and Dr. L. Swasti Charan, sir, Additional DDG, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, for accepting our request to be a guest of honor for this important national webinar on regulating indigenous tobacco product, hosted by E-Resource Center for Tobacco Control, PGI Chandigarh, and supported by the Union Southeast Asia Office, New Delhi. I extend my special thanks to our speakers, Dr. Nirmala Mukherjee, Director and Head Tobacco Control Month, Kolkata, Dr. Ravi Kaushik, Associate Professor of Medical Psychology, MAMC, Dr. Arpit Gupta, Associate Professor, Oral Health Science Center, PGI Chandigarh, and Dr. Gopal Chauhan, sir, State Program Officer, NTCP, Government of Himachal Pradesh, who agreed to be a part of this important discussion on very short notice. Your team's presence is facilitated the discussions to achieve its desired goal, objectives, and outcome. A special thanks to our all the participants for showing your keen interest in this particular webinar, without which none of us would have come for this. And I also request all the participants, please make sure and fill the feedback form. Link already shared in the chat, both in the Zoom and YouTube chat. And please feel free to reach us at www.rctcpgi.org, a virtual resource center, for more information in this regards. So I would like to thank everyone, those who joined today. Thank you.
Maybe we can again switch on our videos to have another photograph. Some people were missed initially. So if everybody has switched on their videos, so our team can capture that photograph.
Rajiv, smile, please.
Raji, have we clicked?
Yes, sir. Done.
Okay. Okay, thank you all of you. Thank you again, and looking forward to another important.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anji,
Thank you.
तो लाउड नहीं किया वीडियो यार, कर दोगे? Video लिखा है not allowed. Cannot start your video. Stop it. इधर कोई नहीं कर.